Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of North Dundas, today being July 15, 2026. For those of you who are wondering why we have a 1 p.m. start, it is also Meet Me on Main Street in Marionville, and that starts at 5:30, so we want to be able to ensure that all those who want to attend that event had enough time to get to that event and celebrate our second in the series of Meet Me on Main Street events. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The meeting is called to order at 1 p.m. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? See none. Moved by Councillor Annable, second by Deputy Mayor Bergeron. Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? See none. That's carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest and nature thereof? Seeing none. We have one delegation this afternoon, and it's Mr. Tom Clapp, who will be speaking to us about the Community Calendar Initiative. Mr. Clapp, and when you come to the microphone, please speak loudly and clearly and closely to the microphone. Thank you.
You hear me? Thank you for the opportunity to address the council and the staff. For some of you who don't know me, I've only been in the county since 1973. There's been a lot of changes. I arrived here at the same time as Wayne Burns and Dr. Slowey. A lot of people, and Joel Steele was just starting up his Country Boy, which was a hub. Dr. Justice was the head doctor over at the hospital. Birchdale was the administrator. And, well, Harold Lannon still had the lumber yard down the street on Main Street. Gagey's was just up there. So I've had a long history with this community. And back then, everybody knew everybody and their dog. So communications was not a problem. And we've identified this since we lost the Winchester Press, and we sort of lost a bit of a hub for communicating. And so a little bit of history of how this group got together. Last year about this time, we heard Wayne Burns was had a health challenge, and some of us knew that he had already had a big party to honor the community. We thought it would be a good idea to honor him. And so I personally went to, after talking with some of the groups here, I went to Wayne and Huguette and asked if we could do this. And he was quite pleased to know that the community was behind him, but he said there was two stipulations. One, it was to honor him and his wife Huguette and family, and the other was to be a fundraiser for the manor, and he made that stipulation to start out. And so we went ahead. Tony was at Mayor Tony, I guess, was at the first meeting that we had, and he indicated that what the township was doing, and we thought that was great. We'll just try and tag along and do this other, because all the groups around here wanted to honor Wayne and Huguette. We met several times and organized it. An agenda to do something, but every time we came up with a time and a date and a place, Wayne had a downtime. So it never really did come to fruition. But what we found out was we really saw how the group could work together. And so we thought we were going to stay together and try and develop something for communication purposes. Sometimes there was duplication of programs the same night. 100 Men Who Care and the firemen had a same event on the same night. You just indicated another event, Meet You on Main Street tonight. It's also a big dairy night down in the county. They're having a fantastic big barbecue and twilight meeting is what it used to be. So here's something else that's on the same night, and it involves a lot of our community people going different ways when we'd like to support everything. But anyways, the group got together and set out 3 initiatives. One was first to gather all the information of all the groups in North Dundas and a contact number with a phone number and email address. And so far, we've come up with about 50 different organizations just here in North Dundas. This is something that's not new to any of the counties. I had the opportunity to go down to an initiative in Cornwall, the I think tourism summit they had, and I had the opportunity to sit down with the groups from North Dundas, or North Glengarry, South Stormont, South Dundas, and the Akwesasne group. Everybody has the same problem: communications, lack of communications. And two things: one was lack of communications, and no strong chamber of commerce. So this initiative has gone ahead. We've had 3 meetings, and right now we've got a group, or I think I shared with the group, we have a list of all the organizations. Most of them, there's still a lot of work to do for established contact names, but we have the names of the groups, and it's an ongoing process. So that's the first initiative. We meet in September the 14th to decide on having a physical handout. We feel that there needs to be something physical, a handout, sort of as a people can pick up, and with a directory of all the organizations in North Dundas, agriculture, not business, because the business are things, but all the activity groups, the event groups in North Dundas. And when you start listing, there's quite a few of them, and it's going to be ongoing. But I have a physical handout, sort of about this size, just the front and back directory, and promotional information in it, and one piece of paper to put in, I can't think of the right word, an insert, with all the activities that are going to be happening in the next 6 months. And have it as a handout, a magazine type thing at all the places, like it could be grocery stores, drugstore, every place, because we have a lot of new people coming into the area, and it'll be very handy for them to pick up and have a contact. Not everybody uses Facebook, and particularly if we have the older group here. But my initiative is, our motto is working together, and so my main issue here is, request is here that that the council have a designated staff member that we can work with to work with us to develop this handout, and so that everybody has an input into it. In September the 14th, we meet again to decide what type of a handout we want to have, and then we contact all the groups to give us their information, what they're going to be doing for the next 6 months. It'll be a 6-month because for the insert. And then at the end, well, everybody's going to have their ideas. Have another insert start in July that we can distribute again for what's happening in the next 6 months. This would be an ongoing, rolling type of thing for off into as long as possible. But we would really appreciate if the Township Council would have some contact person. It doesn't matter. It's up to you people how you want to be part of this. The group is adamant it's going to happen, but I think it's better working together with everybody so that communications is really, really important. The last aspect was, and this is down the road, is volunteers. It is a challenge to get volunteers for a lot of the activities that we have in the community. And we need to address it as a total group. Not everybody wants to belong to a committee or an organization, but there is people in the community. I sat down with Anne-Marie today. She's a program volunteer coordinator for Dairy Fest, and was a great advocate for getting youth involved, and she's done a great job of it. But you talked with Art on the waterfront and the problems that she had, and she contacted me to help get volunteers. we need to have ideas how to attract volunteers that are willing to contribute 2 or 3 hours for an event, but they're not tied into meetings and all these sort of things that have to happen before to make the event happen. So first initiative was to get the information. We've got the information, most of it. There's a lot of holes yet, but they'll get filled. The other is the second is to develop a handout that people can physically have, and it'll have an insert with the activities that are going to happen in the next 6 months, and contact names for all the organization or groups, not businesses, groups, activities that are groups and event people, so that people can pick up something and know what's going to happen. We know there's going to be holes. It's not going to be perfect, but we got to start. The big thing is to get it off the ground. And so this is more of an information for you people, because we love to have your input. We are not asking for any money. If there is the possibility of accessing some seed money to get it started, because I think with using advertising, it could pay for itself. But it's to get it off the ground if there's any seed money available. And that's for you people to decide. Initially, that's pretty well what I'm proposing to the group, staff, and council. And I'm open for questions, Reese, or whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Clapp, and I appreciate your initiative to make sure that that information that is needed by the public so they can decide where and when they want to go to events is going to be managed. But I'll open up for questions, comments. Councillor Lennox.
Tom, thank you for being here. Everybody in this room knows that when a community project has to be done, your name is usually attached to it. Your volunteer commitments to the Winchester Lions, the food bank, and local health care are second to none. So I just want to say thank you for that, and also for being here and championing this. 2 years ago, Sean Doolin, Vince Elmbelt, and maybe another reached out to me about this project, and I told them, yeah, I'll support it. I think it's a good collaboration piece. As to whom in the township could be your point of contact, that's up to the CAO, and I think it may fall under culture, and with connections to our new communications person. Hi. But I do have one question. Who has the final editorial control to reject inappropriate or political events that are submitted to the Lions contact email for the calendar?
What we've asked is that the organization and groups police it themselves. So if the Lions Club are wanting to promote an event, it has to come from a contact person from that Lions Club. We have to establish who is going to keep this ongoing. It can't be an 85-year-old person. And I work with Sean Doolin, I work with other people, the other Lions Clubs. We realize that there has to be a sort of a management group, and we're not distributing information. It's just programs and activities that are going to be happening in the next 6 months. Not everybody can submit, and you're right, there has to be sort of a, I don't like the word placing aspect to it, but we have to work with the committee themselves to make sure that the right information is going out there to the community. And that's why we want to have township input there, so that everybody has an idea. And we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have problems. It's a learning experience. It's a challenge, but we've got it started, and we have so many people keen to support it. So I can't give you a direct answer, but we have to really, I think Lions Clubs are strong with the Rotary Club, the agriculture community. We want them involved and for the events, because it's a great community here. And I stayed here because of the people here. And there's a lot of changes have happened, and there's new people coming in. You look at the community up here at the west end of town, and the development that's happening out at Hallville and out at just all over. There's groups, but we need something out there that is people can pick up and have in their hand. And we need to coordinate our Facebook. One complaint that came up among the group: why don't we use the township website more? Everybody said it's too difficult to maneuver. They felt that it should be right on the front page, community events. It's great to have the sign at the arena, but only Winchester people see it. And if by the time you drive by it, you've missed it. And their information is there, but it's so quick, and we're not going to back up and wait for it to come around again. So this is just something that's going. And Sean, you mentioned Sean Doolin, and he's right there with me. He's the right-hand person pushing it, and right now that Lions Club he's developing a website and I think I put it out, information Lions Club, and a calendar type event they're trying to get used to use, but I don't think it's the end. I think we need to have something more township. Anyways, something more. We need a hub, and I don't know who that hub is that's going to be with it, but I think we've got to work at it and develop a hub that's going to do it. I've tried to interest the Chamber of Commerce of being the hub, but it's not hasn't come to fruition, and we've got to iron that out, because to keep it on going, we need an active group a hub, and it can't be 50 different groups. It's got to come down to a smaller hub. I don't know if I've answered your question, or maybe just confused it more.
No, it's a good start, and as you said, you're lifting it off the ground. I'm sure this process will iron itself out shortly, but I think it's a great collaborative approach the township could potentially get involved in later down the road with some kind of support. I don't know what that would look like right now. There's a lot of things to sort out, but I do appreciate this, and it'd be nice if I can just jump on a simple website calendar and be like, oh, there's the DFA meeting tonight. Let's go to that. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions, comments? Councillor Urick.
No, I appreciate it, Tom. I think you hit on a very good point there when you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, and I do think that if you're going to talk about any big change, there's been quite a change there through the last 10, 15 years, where there was a time when our Chamber of Commerce was quite strong, and its collaboration with not only the business network, but the volunteer network and the event network in our community, they had more of a constructive relationship, which has gone away. And I do wonder if your first avenue is not better served, as you've mentioned, getting them on board and kind of getting some buy-in from them. I do think that there are occasions where a volunteer committee feels like the township gets involved and is going to make a mess of things. So I think the township would be better served arm's length versus kind of on top of stuff like that. And I will say that I think the biggest thing right now is that, I just pulled it up actually here on the homepage of North Dundas website. We have a big banner of upcoming events, and you can click into a calendar. But if none of these organizations share information about these events, you can't get on a calendar. So I think there's another aspect there where some of these groups are operating in silos and not as collaborative as I think the intent of this committee is. So breaking down some of those is a good path as well, and I feel like you're on it, and I commend you for uptaking it with Sean and some of these others that have been mentioned here.
How long have we talked about this?
Holy cow, Tom! Too many years. Too many years.
I sat in that back room with the press with him and Tom and argued about this visible line between Chesterfield and Winchester, South Mountain. And like my focus is let's talk North Dundas and try and get something going. We've got new people, we've got new people involved that don't have that history.
Yep.
And yes, I've already talked to Susan Mariner.
Yep.
And she's has it on the agenda for their next meeting.
Perfect.
About working with us or taking it on, but some way of working with them.
Yep, for sure. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Clapp, I just have one question. I'm one of those people who much prefers to have a piece of paper in my hand and look up something on the internet. I just wondered, do you have any plans on how this will be distributed? How will it get distributed so that the people can get to it?
Our idea is to have enough copies that we can put them in like Foodland, all the places around the community, drugstores where people visit, and also in the hands of the organizations themselves to distribute it around. We want to get it out to as many places as we can, so I don't even know how many copies and what. But it's to have it accessible as many places as we can. The gas stations, you name it, we'll have it there out here in the front office where people walk in and pick up stuff. It's like this is things we're going to be talking about come September the 14th. What's the number going to be? What's it going to cost? Who's going to carry who's going to be the treasurer? Who's going to be the hub of this sort of thing? And that's why I say there's got to be a hub, and that's where we'd appreciate input from the township, what they can do to help make this hub work, make your calendar work better. And it's the same thing with working with the Chesterfield Record. We worked with Linda. Linda's willing, and she started last month, has a printed calendar. And it's the same issue that somebody just mentioned. In order to use it, you have to have the community groups submit their information. And I just sent out a letter or an email out to all the groups. I said, Linda has done it. It doesn't cost you anything. Submit your activities to her and she'll print them. And remind them, it's there to use. You mentioned everybody's in a silo. Break down, take down the walls. Sean's got this other calendar that they're using, but nobody's using it. Again, I said to them, we decided we were going to do this with these means to communicate. Use them. You know, so you got to put the responsibility back on the groups to make it work. And it's not going to be easy. We're herding cats, remember.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anything further? Questions, comments?
No, nothing that hasn't already been asked.
So, thank you. I don't really have any great direction on how to go about it. It's a project that little bit involved in, but I'm not directing it, that's for sure. But I think that if there was information generated, and you mentioned someone that could compile that information into a pleasing-looking, easy to manage, easy to follow format, if it was simply that, a link on our website to that, or a link on our Facebook page to that, I think those are easy things to manage. And as for the staffing, I'll just turn it over to our CAO.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Based on the discussions and feedback today, staff will prepare a report and bring forward some consideration for council direction and approval.
Okay.
I'm hoping we can come out of this one person that on here that would be a contact person that we can use and would be part of the discussion with us. I think that's the main, and we meet September the 14th.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we will endeavor to bring in a report at the next council meeting with all the details that is being explored today.
Thank you. And Tom, thank you very much for bringing that. It's an important initiative. To your
Thank
point,
you.
There's lots of events that we miss and that we don't know about, and we do need to have, to Councillor Urig's comment, we do need to have a way, but I don't think it's going to be a council or a staff driven to seek out what events are going on. We might be the receivers of the information, but there's to the events you've just listed on your presentation, it'd be a full-time job to compile all that and do all that work. So, but I look forward to having further discussions, and as the CAO said, we'll have further information delivered to us soon in a report.
Thank you, Tony. We do have the lists of people now. It's just a matter of putting it together and getting something done, and the group is very adamant that something is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for addressing me as Tom, not Mr. Clapp. That was my dad.
Okay, Tom. I just want to make sure everyone knew you were Mr. Clapp. We're going to move into staff reports, and from Ms. Charette, our Corporate Services Clerk, a noise exemption request from Farmer John's Summer Party 2026, moved by Councillor Urick, seconded by Councillor Lennox. Be it resolved that Council deny the request to obtain a temporary exemption permit to nuisance bylaw number 2016-20 for an event located at 13346 Forward Road, Chesterville, from 11 p.m. on July 25th, 2026 to 2 a.m. on July 26, 2026. Ms. Charette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So through you, I'll just briefly do a quick overview of the report. Mr. Brugmans has held Farmer John's Party for the last 30 years at his location in Chesterville, and he had applied for a noise exemption permit, which we are recommending denial. He had submitted this last year as well. This noise exemption is to be permitted to allow the noise to continue until 2 a.m., which the music will be scheduled to end. However, the event is not scheduled to end as per the Facebook group event. And there will be several DJs, live music, there's a food truck, there's alcohol vendors on site, there's camping, there is parking available as well. And just a little bit of history from last year, our CBO and bylaw officer went to the location to inspect the stage, as it's a professional setup, so it needs to be inspected by one of our officials for safety, and they just asked that he turn the music away from the village and the speakers. So last year we actually staff did not receive any complaints for noise because the music was directed out into the field instead of into the town. And I had connected with a member of the OPP. They didn't speak to complaints they received last year. However, they are concerned that this event does pose a threat to the health and safety of attendees and the public. And they would prefer it not occur, but they know it will occur. So they just are requesting that we deny the noise exemption. But those are basically all of the information and the concerns.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Questions, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the denial? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Moving on to bylaw number 2026-50, SDG Joint Compliance Audit Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Urick. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-50, being a bylaw to appoint members to the Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry Joint Compliance Audit Committee for the term of November 15, 2026 to November 14, 2030, and to adopt the terms of reference for the committee be passed and enacted this 15th day of July 2026. Ms. Charette.
So through the chair, pursuant to the Municipal Elections Act, it is mandatory that municipalities appoint a compliance audit committee to address any applications received from an elector who's entitled to vote and believes that there may be a contravention, an issue that has contravened the MEA. So SDG clerks have worked in collaboration on many elections matters, and including this joint approach to the committee. We have 4 candidates that have submitted and have been approved by the members of the SDG clerks working group. We have 3 that one each represent Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, and then Denise LaBelle Jardinez, she's our alternate from Stormont, and so should there be someone who cannot be at a meeting, should there be a need for one, she will be the alternate there. So those are just the 4 members. Within the bylaw, in the policy, there is a stipulation that we're supposed to have 2 alternates. However, the group has agreed to remain with 1, and should the need arise, we will reevaluate that and basically recruit again should we need another alternate, but everyone has a comfort level that we're fine with the 1 for now. So
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, seeing none, that's carried. Thank you. And we're going to move on to Director of Pole Development Services. Cornwall Gravel Company Limited Aggregate Resource Act License Application Number 626725, the Chinani Pit, and comments, and it's moved by Councillor Annable, and it's seconded by Councillor Lennox. Be it resolved that Council here approves the attached comments regarding the proposed Chinani Pit by Cornwall Gravel Company Limited for submission to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry under the Environmental Registry of Ontario and under the Aggregate Resources Act through the Integrated Aggregate Operations Section of the MNRF and Cornwall Gravel Company Limited, and see Appendix A. Director Paul.
Thank you, Mayor Fraser. I'll just do a quick summary. I won't touch on all the 24 or 21 points. I'll just briefly hit on some of the highlights. So we can move forward to the screenshot with all three. So this image here, you can see what's happened on the site over the last number of years. There's extensive clear cutting going on that took away all the trees along the one tributary off of the Allen Creek, as well as some of the areas around there. They were low-lying areas. What came about was there was 10 butternuts discovered inside that little strip that's remaining in the 2024 image. There was 10 butternuts, so we don't know if any other butternuts were removed because they were deforested before the environmental heritage or natural heritage studies were done. So we have in our recommendations to the province that the 10 butternuts that are left still within the strip of Allen Creek be monitored and maintained on the site. The second comment we had is with regard to options note number 4, which talks about existing berms. The indication on the report was that there was no existing berms. We have had over the years neighbors complaining that a berm was created about 3 years ago, and that berm was made up of the stumps that were drawn out and the logs and the brush that was pulled out of that creek area, and it was brought to the road and created into a berm, whereas the report says there was no existing there's no existing berm, and that berm that in the reports is supposed to be made up of topsoil. It's actually made up, if you scroll forward, you'll see the the images from Street View. It's basically made up of logs, branches, and everything like that. It's supposed to be made of topsoil for rehabilitation plans in the future that they push back in to create a slope once it's a lake at the end of the excavation period. So just bringing that to the attention of the province, that is incorrect inside the reports. Under number 4, under the operations plan, it's number 5 in my notes. There is 2 entrances being proposed at the south or west side of the site. They are actually looking to move those entrances over from where they currently exist. Right now, one of the entrances aligns with the house at 1244 Allen Road there. It's directly across. If we scroll up just a little bit there, you can see the next image. No, or down. I'm used to using my mouse to push up. The next image shows where the realignment of that, just a little bit up, a little more. There you go. You can see that the realignment moves over a little bit, but it's still directly across from the person's house at 1244 Allen Road. There's another entrance just to the north. There's not a north arrow, but to the left of that one. That one is proposed to be gated into that. We would like to see that closed. Actually, all 3 entrances that are there or proposed, we'd like to see those all closed. Our transportation director does not want to see any truck traffic or traffic in and out of this sand pit on Allen Road. It is a gravel road, and I don't think it can withstand the traffic being proposed, or even as a secondary entrance. They have 2 entrances proposed onto County Road 1, which can accommodate truck traffic and any other vehicles, machinery or anything that gets brought in. So those should be the main entrances. That road does not have the weight restrictions that Allen Road and French Settlement Road have. So our proposal is that those entrances be stopped up and closed, not gated, but actually closed and removed. The next one is with regard to the lack of buffering. It's number 7, if you want to scroll to that one. Just a little higher. Yeah, right there. Oh, down a little bit. There you go. So there's a house across on County Road 1 at, the address is 1215 County Road 1. On the other side, they're proposing their weigh scales. They've got a fuel depot set up there, and there's nothing buffering those scales or that fuel station, other than they show an existing entrance that might be gated. We'd like to see that entrance removed and a berm put there to protect the house across the street. To at least have a visual barrier as well as a sound barrier from all the trucks going on the weigh scales and off the weigh scales. Because the hours of operation that they've asked for are quite extensive. We want to make sure that that resident is protected from noise and dust and all the rest that might come off of this site and on and off the weigh scales. The next item is just to below it there. This proposed area, they're looking, sorry, just a little bit down. Yeah, right there. They're talking about processing of topsoil and aggregates on the site, and the second one under number 39, they're talking about importing recycled materials and processing them on site. So that involves things not only just leaving the site. Normally on a sand pit like this, there's just extraction that gets loaded onto a truck and away it goes. They're looking on this site to actually bring in materials, blend them, or do whatever with it, and send it back out again. So that involves more truck traffic, more noise and dust and things like that. With that coming on site, plus the storage of those materials, the recycled materials that are coming on site. One of the concerns we had is the hours of operation associated with that, making sure the berming and all the rest that actually address the importation, because now it's more of an industrial type use of processing, not just a simple extraction. So we want to make sure that's addressed. The next one was the hours of operation, and I've kind of touched on that. The application that they've put in, they're looking to go basically 7 days a week from 7 to 7 for full operation. No break on the weekend whatsoever. And also they want to be able to do shipping and loading 7 days a week to 365 days a year, other than the statutory holidays. That's an unusual request. All the other pits that we have in the municipality and those that we've dealt with in the last 5-10 years, our hours of operation are 7 to 7 and 7 to 12 on Saturdays. So Saturday mornings, basically, they can operate. You get two quiet afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and a Sunday quiet for the neighbors and to protect the neighbors and that sort of thing. So the recommendations going forward are that they not operate on the Saturday afternoons or Sundays with regard to the operations to match all the other pits that we have in the area for sound and noise coming out of there. Just to be fair to, the neighbors actually get a quiet day. One of the things that came out in the open house, and I want to stress this to council, is we understand that the beepers for backing up to these vehicles on site, the emergency beepers, they're of a new sound these days, and you can't get away from it. It's a higher pitch, and it's something you can't ignore. But they're exempt from noise requirements. So even though these noise studies say, oh, we meet the noise requirements, those aren't included in the noise. The noise only is from the trucks themselves, the operation. So you will hear, if you live next door to those beepers going at all hours if they get the hours that they're looking for. There's nothing to protect them from those noises because the sound barriers aren't designed for that. They're designed just for the trucks. It's a health and safety issue, so that's why they're excluded from the noise requirements. So just to have that in mind with regard to hours of operation. And the second to last one is under number 15. There's 3 dwellings that are very, very close. They're outside the 120 meters, so they are required by law to protect all the wells within 120 meters of the site. These houses are like at 122, 124. They're just beyond with their locations. I was doing some measurements. They're not that far outside of that. And I wanted to protect those 3 units because they're also working with sand. And water does travel through sand much quicker than it does through clay or other materials or rock, that kind of thing, where they're just beyond it to make sure that those 3 additional houses are included in their studies and included in the monitoring to make sure as they go below water with this sand pit, it's all below water, that those wells are monitored and protected, being the neighbors. Just because you're 2 meters outside of the 120, you just want to make sure that they're treated fairly and monitored. So we're trying to include those 3. And the last item is with regard to noise assessment. The noise reports had made recommendation with regard to berms and where you locate berms. They've also included that this can be satisfied by shipping containers, essentially. So one of the proposals was that some of the exits, that they use shipping containers instead of a berm. They can use it for storage that way, but then you have that eyesore as you come out of your property and look straight ahead at a shipping container instead of a berm for a noise barrier. So the recommendation was to take out that and not have that option available. If they have to have shipping containers on site for storage, that they can be located inside the site. But with regard to berming and the actual visual barriers, that they actually be berms, and that the topsoil that's removed from the site actually gets used for the berms, and the creation of that for reinstating that. So the last item is the zoning amendment. County Council is looking at the official plan amendment this coming meeting. Following the passage of that, Council can consider the zoning amendment, and that includes some of the setbacks that are talked about in this report. We'll be bringing that back for the August meeting for Council to consider.
Thank you, Director Paul. Questions, comments? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Mr. Paul, I want to commend you on all the work and research you did to respond to this application. It just goes to show that the township definitely is trying to protect the people that live close by. Thank God for Google Maps, because we can see where they deforested. And they also moved the tributary there, which wasn't mentioned today, which caused erosion and sedimentation in the creek. And the 10 butternut trees, guarantee you the woods that they could have cut had butternut trees, because I know how squirrels work. I have black walnuts coming up in my lawn, flower bed, garden all the time from those little animals that they just love to bury the nuts around. And so definitely, and cutting down butternut trees is totally illegal. Just so the public knows, the final decision is with the province, and that we as a municipality were doing our best, as you've presented here, to represent the people that live in this community. So I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Further questions, comments? Councillor Lennox.
I got two for you, Director Paul. The first one's about well water. Now, you alluded to this in point 14 or something. I forget the number, sorry. But the operator promises to mitigate if neighboring residential wells go dry due to their below water table digging. What is that mitigation? And are we expecting local families to live off a temporary water truck for months while lawyers argue? Or is there a hard, legally binding 48-hour replacement clause tied to this license?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Fraser, through you. They would have to comply with the Ministry of Natural Resources. It's under the Aggregate Resources Act that they have to monitor these wells, and also if there is that, within the Act itself, there's legislation that puts out what they have to do and how quickly they have to react. That's all through legislation, and that exists for particularly sand pits and gravel pits.
Okay, I'll look up that legislation. I'm just pretty curious on the timeline if a well goes dry. Second question, a little easier, and you can defer, not answer, so I'm going to give you an easy out. The report notes that the developer, as the Deputy Mayor talked about, clear-cut a massive portion of the creek site in 2023 prior to their natural heritage evaluation. Did the township look into an environmental stop work or bylaw infraction back then? And why are we accepting an environmental baseline study that was heavily manipulated by a chainsaw?
How best to respond to that? We don't have a tree cutting bylaw, so to enforce someone cutting down trees right now under agricultural purposes, that's not regulated right now in the township. So it was being used for agricultural crop production in and around that area before. So yeah, we don't have a bylaw that would prohibit that, other than they are butternuts, which are a protected species, as the Deputy Mayor has pointed out.
And in that case, we would just escalate to the MNR and they would do their historical tree cover analysis.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions, comments from Councillor Urick.
No, I think just very similar to the Deputy Mayor, just thank you for all this. It's unfortunate that the gentleman from Cornwall Gravel basically sat here the night we had the public meeting and said, whatever we say, the province might override anyhow. So that's not the most optimistic, but we do have to do our best. And I mean, I think it proves loud and clear that we heard what residents within the area had to say that night here. So thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Annabelle.
Mine's just a comment. I just wanted to tell Mr. Powell, we appreciate the research you did to get into this. This must have taken you hours and hours. So, and you've got it in a format that's easily understood.
Thank you, Councillor. And I said, excuse me, a couple of things. The street view of the berm with the trees in it, and to the comments about the deforestation and the butternut. I hope that draws attention to the challenge that we're facing with this whole application. And then I'm looking forward to we all supporting that the no entrances and any entrances on Allen Road be stopped up. I think I do recall a few years back how treacherous Allen Road can become when being soft, and in the area that it's in, I couldn't imagine a gravel truck or a sand truck making its way through there, and how would we control it unless it was stopped up? Can you give me an idea of the recycled material that might be incorporated?
They didn't give any definition of what that is. It just says recycled material.
Right,
Is
right.
it asphalt? Is it who knows what?
And is there would there be any traction gained by challenging extraction versus industrial uses with the recycled material? Because I think as I was reading, it becomes an industrial a product. It's definitely not extraction if they're adding something to it, to the material. It's a process now. And would that change the whole equation? Would it change the application process if they're extracting a resource and then they're bringing material in? It seems counterintuitive to call it extraction.
So in response to your question, they also have some places like on Lachlan Ridge where they process concrete using the sand and stuff. So they're adding materials in those cases. So there's a certain amount of blending, creating concrete that is accepted under the Act for processing and creating another product that leaves the site. So yeah, there is some of that involved in that. I'd like to see with recycled material, what does that actually, I do have some contacts at the ministry. I'll investigate that.
Thank you.
Response to that.
And you mentioned what other pits in our area do, 7 to 7, Monday to Friday, 7 to noon on Saturday. But do the shipping and loading 24/7, is that the normal practice in North Dundas?
No.
Is it similar to 7/7, 7/12?
Yeah, it's
And
normally
close
7 to
Saturday?
7, and that's, you do all your operations. We have had with Lafarge in the past where they have had an emergency or a situation where they needed product in extended hours. What they've done is they've asked the municipality, and they've gone out to all the neighbors. They notify the neighbors ahead of time that they are going to be extended hours for this weekend, and it's a limited time. They give them notice. All those neighbors have always appreciated that, and they get the approval through the municipality to say, yeah, we can go longer for this period of time. And actually, they've gone out and give gift baskets to the families in and around the pit that were affected, and it is a measure of goodwill. So there is ways and means of doing it properly, and if you do have an emergency that you do need to have extended hours, it can be done. It's just how do you go about it, and giving the neighbors at least a sense that there is an end time. It's just not forever. It's this weekend or it's 2 weekends in a row, and that's it. So yeah, it can be dealt with.
Right, and you mentioned, and it's a conversation about what is an emergency, and but for that to happen, it would be a resolution of council to allow that. And I think, I think those conversations we had earlier about noise exemptions for construction, and to ensure that the pouring of concrete or the pouring of cement went smoothly, and so we had good concrete, and that was an application that was a request that came to council. So would that be the same?
It could be, or it could be a delegated authority, depending on the nature of what the emergency is. If it's something that has to be dealt with within a day or two, there may not be a council meeting scheduled within that time frame to get it on the agenda. So maybe delegated authority and a combination of both, where they know there's a certain project and they're going to have extra hours. So it could be a combination of the two, depending on what you need. But the big part of that is notifying neighbors to let them know.
Okay, and that would be all outlined through an agreement.
Set up a policy for that, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I think you've answered some of my questions. Yeah, any further questions, comments? Saying that, and excuse me. So, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you, Director Paul. We're going to move on to Finance Director Hewitt, restructuring township reserves and unfinanced capital, moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Lennox. Be it resolved that council authorize staff to net the general unfinanced capital balance against the township's discretionary reserves to clear historical internal capital borrowings, and that council approve the consolidation of remaining discretionary reserves into a single working funds reserve. Director Hewitt.
Thank you very much, Mayor Fraser. I'll start with the background to give some information on what unfinanced capital is and how it relates to our reserves. Typically, when we fund a capital project, there's four main sources of funding that we can use. One could be taxation raised during the year, there could be grants, there could be debt, or there could be reserves or reserve funds. Reserves are completely at council's discretion, and they are very flexible. In previous years, we had a handful of capital projects that were funded essentially from our reserves, but there was never a particular reserve dedicated for it. And so the cost of the project, being greater than any one value of the reserve, this is where they were dedicated to come from unfinanced capital. And so essentially the unfinanced capital is borrowing from the existing reserves without drawing any of them down directly. So the benefit to the municipality is that it allows us to pay for these capital projects without taking on excess debt, which comes at additional cost to taxpayers. And it works as long as the value of the unfinanced capital doesn't exceed the overall value of your general reserves, right? You're not borrowing more from yourself than what you actually have. In the past few years as well, the municipality has budgeted an annual amount to pay back the unfinanced capital. And so over time, let's say 10 years, the unfinanced capital would be repaid and the value of the reserves would be what they truly are. The problem is that until that unfinanced capital goes away, the face value of our reserves are inflated. And so when we look ahead to do future budget planning, we can't necessarily rely on that face value of the reserves because there's been an amount that's otherwise been spoken for through the unfinanced capital. And so now that we've completed the asset management plan and the long-term financial plan, and our 2025 year-end audit, it's evident that over the next 10 years, there's going to be significant capital spending that's required. And so our recommendation before we start the 2027 budget process is that we do net these general reserves against the general unfinanced capital to have a really clear picture of what we're working with going forward. So if you scroll up just a little bit, I highlighted here as part of the analysis, so starting with the restricted reserve funds and then scrolling down, the accounts that we would recommend leaving as are. And so for anything that is a reserve fund, as part of the analysis, we recommended that these do not get netted. In some cases, there are provincial reasons as to why they need to be set up and established separately. For water and sewer reserves, we recommended to leave those ones untouched as well, because there are, legislated self-funding mechanisms through the user rates rather than property taxes. And I made a note there as well about unfinanced capital towards some of the ongoing projects that we have. There are some situations where just because of timing, unfinanced capital could legitimately occur if we have an expense in one year and then in the following year we do a drawdown from a construction loan. So there was a temporary period where the capital expense occurred, but we didn't have the funding for it. What we're recommending here is looking at the, just scroll up to the table, the general discretionary reserves, being everything else that we talked about, which as of 2025 was $4.1 million, netting that against the general unfinanced capital, which are 4 projects itemized there that had occurred in the past that have a carrying balance of around $2 million. And if you go to the next page, what we're recommending that we do once we net and consolidate these together is to leave it and put it towards a general working funds reserve. So this working funds reserve is kind of like the float for the municipality. It's your general operating balance. It's used to manage cash flow fluctuations throughout the year, because there could be timing differences throughout the year of when our expenses occur versus when we collect money through taxation or user rates or grants, etc. We did an analysis, if you scroll down a little bit, to what the impact would be for 2026 if we did this netting, because those were based on 2025 figures. And with all of the ins and outs of everything from our reserves, essentially we would end up at about $1,177,000 for a working funds reserve at the end of this year. If you scroll on just a little bit more. So the recommendation typically is that your working funds reserve is around 10 to 15%. So at 1.177 million, it is a little bit below that. But I would say that it doesn't create any immediate cause for concern, because we do have other unallocated balances in our other reserves and reserve funds. One thing I did just want to point out, and it's the last sentence on the next page, is that given that projected year-end balance, and once we do this consolidation, it won't leave any general reserves available to fund new capital assets next year in our 2027 budget. For example, roads or bridges or equipment, because we have it all now in this dedicated general working funds reserve. I would highlight, though, that through this change, it doesn't change anything to our overall financial position. This is exactly where we are, where we have been. It just provides a little bit more of a clear picture of what is truly available to us, and a little bit more transparency, when we go through the 2027 budget process.
Thank you, Director Hewitt, and thank you for that explanation. I open up questions, comments. Councillor Lennox. Councillor Lennox directs me over this way. Councillor Uhrig.
We got it. You got there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I think transparency, that's the key word there, and thank you for that, Marcus. It is, we're not up here playing with monopoly money, we're playing with real money, taxpayer dollars, different levels of funding. I understand that. So for all of us collectively in this room at this table to know what we're actually working with is key. So I'm well in support of this, and I appreciate the efforts behind it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lennox.
Just a quick question for you. Before we authorize netting these accounts, what is the exact dollar value of the unfinanced capital we are clearing, and which specific past projects caused this internal deficit?
If you go up to the second page where we had the analysis, right there. So under the unfinanced capital table, if you scroll down a little bit, so those 4 projects there are the remaining unfinanced capital, and they all were around 2022, 2023 spending when they had initially been incurred. But as I had said, the municipality had always been repaying a little bit back each year through the budgeting process. So it's $2,014,000.
All right, perfect. And one more, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Now this, I like the idea. It's streamlined, it's efficient, but it works for this council. But for future councils, it may not work, because they would like to know how much Chief Raystrick has set aside for Pump 1, or Mr. Pohl has set aside for fleet vehicles. How would you relay that information to future councils?
The challenge, because we've because we've authorized the spending through the unfinanced capital, is that if we had anything set aside for these specific projects, the funding isn't actually available there to spend towards it. And so if we leave it as is, which it's how it's on our financial statements as of 2025, it's just challenging because we can't actually dedicate it in a future budget cycle towards a specific fleet or a specific project. So, you know, in essence, it is there, and that was, you know, the original intention of it. But because these other unfinanced capital projects had occurred, the actual cash isn't there to be used.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions, comments, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make one point. Some of the capital, unfinanced capital, is paid back to the township internally with time. And sometimes unfinanced capital is temporary because you've borrowed the money from we've borrowed money from ourselves until we get an appropriate loan or a good interest rate. And then once that loan has been approved or is received, then that goes back into the unfinanced capital.
Through you, Mayor, exactly. And so for the unfinanced capital, the water and sewer capital projects, that's essentially what's going on right now. Is we have a loan through Infrastructure Ontario, and we request drawdowns to pay it back. And just because of timing, on December 31st, which is when our financial statements are done, we may have spent the money, but the request for the drawdown might not happen until January or February. And so there is a period where it is unfinanced capital, the financing to come. But for those 4 projects below, there isn't another funding source to back it up. This is more or less unfinanced capital borrowing from our internal reserves.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And my comment, and it's been mentioned a few times, I believe already, Director Hewitt, the clarity, the transparency, and to your response to Councillor Lennox, and I appreciate it because it really is enlightening that having sat here for a while, thinking that we had reserves, but the reserves, there's 2,000 that's already earmarked for something else. So yeah, to that number, it will provide, I do believe, future councils with a good understanding of how much is actually in the reserve. If there is an incident, if there is an upset, if something needs to be purchased or mended or repaired, rebuilt, there will be a clear understanding that this is the amount that is available, that isn't earmarked and set aside for one of those 4 projects, as an example. Once again, I appreciate your presentation. It adds a lot to our understanding, and hopefully it adds a lot to the understanding of the people in the public of the nuances that go on in the finance department. Thank you. Saying all that, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. We move on to Fire. Chief Raistrick, surplus 2001 Ford E350 Squad 1B, moved by Councillor Urick, seconded by Councillor Annable. Be it resolved that Council declare Unit Squad 1B a 2001 Ford E350, it's a former ambulance, VIN 1FDWE35F52HA 48037 to be surplus to the needs of the township, that Council authorizes it to be advertised on the Brian's Auction Services website via sealed bids. Chief.
Sorry about the VIN, Mr. Mayor. So as we move forward with the fire service vehicles, storage is increasing on the frontline vehicles, as we know, on the new pump 1 that will be arriving. And, you know, this vehicle was typically used as an air bottle shuttle. Now common practice to use the squads, the pickup trucks to move the bottles, much easier to maneuver down the roadways. So we're using those more frequently. So this vehicle will be basically a redundant vehicle once the new pump 1 arrives. So this sale of this vehicle will also reduce our fleet by 1 vehicle, so thereby reducing our total operating costs. And it is getting in kind of tougher shape. but we are going to keep it in service. As I have mentioned in previous meetings at Rescue 3, the body on it is no longer serviceable. The 3 people that have looked at that particular body have said no, they won't even repair it, so we have to buy a new one. So as we said here in the financial analysis, the funds from the sale of this vehicle will go to repairing another one to keep it on the road for a few more years for us.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Lennox.
So you're telling me the duct tape isn't holding it together anymore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the duct tape has let go.
And can you just repeat that VIN number for me? I didn't catch it from the I kid.
Thank you, Councillor Lennox.
Further questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. And then we're going to move on to surplus 2005 Freightliner cabin chassis, former Tank 3, moved by Councillor Lennox, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bergeron. Be it resolved that Council declare former unit Tank 3, 2005 Freightliner M2 106 cabin chassis VIN, it'd be easier, VIN 1FVHCYDC45HN75177 to be surplus to the needs of the township, that Council authorizes it to be advertised on the Bryant's Auction Services website via sealed bids. That last word, via sealed bids. Chief.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Again, I apologize for the VIN. Same idea as the squad, the former Squad 1B. However, this is the unit that was involved in the collision last year. We have taken, it is currently at Battle Shield, removing all of the former fire apparatus from it, and the cabin chassis should be ready for sale for auction at the end of the month when Brian's has their next auction.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Okay, thank you, Chief. We're going to move into the consent agenda. Is there anything moved by Councillor Annable, second by Councillor Uhrig? Be it resolved that all items listed under the consent agenda be approved / filed as recommended. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Items for consideration. Notices of motions. Boards and committees. County Council, I don't believe we've had a meeting since. Thank you. We have one coming up. Parade of Lights, I have no information. Garden Party Market, I have no information on the next event. Art in the Waterfront, Councillor Annable.
They're not meeting until fall now.
Thank you. Cheshire District Historical Society, Councillor Annable.
I missed the last meeting.
Thank you. Dairy Fest, Deputy Mayor Bergeron.
It's all listed already here. The minutes are in the package, and the next meeting is on the 28th.
Thank you. Downtown Winchester, Councillor Annable / Councillor Uhrig, either or.
We've set up our own watering schedule to water the plants on the main corner, and that's about all we've done.
Thank you. Morwood Rec Association, Councillor Lennox.
An awesome association, which I'll invite Mr. Tom Clapp to come out to. I will get you a point of contact for the MRA.
Yes, and I just want to piggyback onto the Morwood Recreation Association, if you don't mind. They were somewhat the hosts of the first Meet Me on Main in Morwood, first of the series, this past Wednesday. It went very, very well, having the event at the park in Morwood, right next to the Recreation Association Hall, or the Rec Hall, I should say. And yeah, thanks for all the support from the Morwood RA in making sure that the extra work that was needed to make sure it was such a success was had, and my appreciation goes out to them. Council comments, I'd just like to say that we're right into full swing now of our Meet Me on Main Street events. I think it's been noticed by many that the events have moved to the parks in our communities. And I think there's some questions and concerns about why we would take the Meet Me on Main Street events off of the main street and put them into our parks. I think experience has shown that the event going into the parks, and we go back to the first time we moved the Winchester one into the 100 Club Park, they are successful. People do appreciate it. The intent was to make sure that the safety of everyone was considered. with some of the incidents, and we hark back a year or two to an incident in Vancouver where people were injured on a street event, and so we have to be mindful of the challenges that we face and make sure that our events are conducted in a safe fashion. And I do believe that the events are conducted in the same fashion and with the same sense of spirit and community as before. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the next the event this afternoon, and then the 4 others that follow. Councillor Lennox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. June 30th, we had a network of storms roll through. Hallville got hit pretty good. I just wanted to say thank you to Andreas, Ted Seeland, Sean, Chief Raystrick, Jamie Cheney for sending up the roads department people on their day off to clear roads so emergency vehicles can get through, and to deal with Hyman and Shaw Road, which I hear was a mess. And for CAO for responding to the text message quickly that Curse Ridge, in the mythical land of Hallville, where a rumored park is being built, and yeah, coming to the rescue. Thank you.
You forgot to mention, and thanks to you for your efforts. I know you were very busy with that, so thanks.
You guys do owe me a bar for my chainsaw.
There you go. Okay, we're going to move into camera, but before we move into camera, I'm going to suggest we take a break, but I'm going to, we'll move into camera and then, no, take a break and then move into camera. No, what would be best? Move in and then a quick break?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, put the motion forward, move forward, and then we can take a 5-minute
Sure.
break.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, second by Councillor Annable, that council proceed to close session at 2:11 p.m. pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, Section 2392. Subsection C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And subsection I, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. Question, comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, seeing none, that's carried. We'll take 5. Okay, welcome back. We're going to move into open session. Moved by Councillor Urick, second by Councillor Lennox. Be it resolved that council return to open session at 3:13 p.m. All those in favor? Opposed? See none. That's carried. We just returned. Council met in a closed session in order to address matters pertaining to Section 2392C, a proposed acquisition, and subsection 2392I, a trade secret supplied in confidence and reviewed and approved closed session minutes from June 17, 2026. It's moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Annabelle. Be it resolved that staff proceed as directed in closed session. All those in favor? Opposed? See none. That's carried. And before we move into adjournment, I just want to remind everyone that's paying attention live that Meet Me on Main in Marionville is taking place this evening. It promises to be an exciting night. I'm sure the temperature isn't as bad as it was last night. Look forward to seeing everyone there in Marionville. Moved by Councillor Lennox, second by Councillor Urick. Be it resolved that council adjourn at 3:14 p.m. to the call of the chair. All those in favor? Opposed? See none. That's carried. Good evening and enjoy the rest of your day.